11.3 and 11.5 probability of compound events. I can find a probability of compound events.
Good. So this is compound events, which means we are dealing with more than how many events?
2 or more.
2 or more, right? So more than one. You need to sit down, Bart, so people can see. Compound means more than one. Dependent events and independent events are different in the fact that dependent events impact each other. Independent events
Don't impact each other.
there's no impact on each other, right? So flipping a quarter and then flipping a quarter again, the first flip would not impact the second flip, would it?
No.
If I randomly chose a student in this class and had them leave the room and then randomly chose another student, would the first event impact the second event?
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be dependent, right? Okay, you guys get the idea. It's very important that you understand the difference between the two because each of them have their own formulas. Each of them have their own ways of calculating percentages. Main idea number 2 was just examples of independent or dependent events. It would be in your benefit to read through those. I love the cheat sheets on number 2. We said that dependent events are going to have changing probability. Independent events are going to have the exact same probability. So flipping a quarter. If I flip a quarter one time, what's my chance of getting ahead? 1/2. If I flip the quarter a second time, what's my chance of getting ahead?
1/2.
1/2. So independent events, percentage probability is going to stay the same. Dependent events, it's going to change. I love that cheat sheet. It's one of my favorites of the year. Number 3 then, independent events, you need to know the formula. Probability of A times the probability of B. Ahmed, what does A mean and what does B mean when we're calculating probability of A times the probability of B?
A stands for event 1, the first event you do.
Yep.
And then B stands for the second event.
Yeah, we're just differentiating between events. So we're saying event A, event B. You really could say probability of 1 times probability of 2. Probability of event 1 times the probability of event 2. But the formula is written universally, which means everybody uses probability of A times probability of B. All right, so number 9 gives you an example of probability of A times the probability of B. We're drawing marbles out of a bag, and then we're replacing the marbles before we do a second draw. Okay? Moving down. Number 10, make sure you look closely at number 10. You're going to see something like that on your homework. It might be a little bit bigger than that. Moving down to independent events. The formula for, moving down to dependent events. The formula for dependent events is what? Will, what's the formula for dependent events?
It's the probability of A times the probability of B, but only after A.
Thank you, Will. The only difference is this part right here. You cannot calculate the probability of B until you figure out what happens in A. Because A is going to impact B, right?
Yeah.
If we take a student out of this classroom because someone was randomly chosen and asked to leave, is that going to affect the chances of you being drawn in the second?
Yes.
Of course it is. So after A just means B can't be calculated until A takes place because A is going to impact B. We did some examples here, and a lot of you struggled with letter B. We said, what's the probability of drawing a blue marble and then a blue marble? There were 3 blue marbles in the bag, and there were 15 total marbles, right?
Yeah.
But if we draw a blue marble and don't replace it, how many blue marbles are left?
2.
How many marbles are left?
14.
14. Be careful. Above, we drew a green marble, and we said there were 7 green marbles and 15 total. Then we switched to a red. We went down to 14, but there were 5 reds. So you just got to answer the question. What is the probability of each of these? Be careful in answering your questions. Slow down, use your formulas, talk your way through it. Questions before I stop the video?